balanced. And then you let your mind be quiet and you visualize a possible buried treasure, maybe the family silverware or something that where this old mansion used to stand. Maybe they put the silverware in the ground and nobody ever found it. So let's just imagine that we're looking for that old silver service, and I let my mind be quiet and I say, where is it? And the rods say out that way. Now, there's several things I could do from this point. I could just follow the rods right out until I get to the location, and they might go like this, or they might go like that. Now, if I walk by, when I get over the site I'm talking about, if I walk by the site, they would just simply turn around and point back at the site. So wherever I was at the time, if I was to the right or to the left or beyond the actual site, if I was doing this properly, the rods would just keep pointing to that one site. Now, as we've said before, you can just use this simple dowsing device. It doesn't even cost you very much. There are many dowsing devices on the market that cost a good deal. Some of them are good, and some of them are a little bit ridiculous as far as I'm concerned, and cost many thousands of dollars. These two little devices here can do just as well as any device that you can find anywhere, and you do the same thing. If there's a treasure on this old plantation, where is it? Well, it's still pointing out in that direction, so I have to think that that's where it is. And then, of course, you can cut the coat hanger off here and down here and bend these over, make a handle out of this, and you get something like this. You hold these very loosely in your hands, balance them in front of you, get your mind quiet, and tell your subconscious you want to know where this treasure, if there is one, you want to know where it is. Well, there they go. They're pointing right out in that direction again. So that must be where it is. Now we have other devices which I'd like to show you. Here is the old-fashioned fork stick device which you're all familiar with, and it's a good treasure dowsing instrument. I just cut this off a tree here a while back, just a few minutes ago, and it's just as good as you're going to find anywhere for any price. Now we're going to try to visualize that treasure if there is one, and I'm going to scan by turning in a 365-degree circle. I'm going to expect this dowsing rod to go down like that when I'm pointing at the treasure. Yeah, it's right over there. It just wants to go down over that way. Now when you're using a device like this, you hold it like this, you start out this way, and then you spread it apart. So look, it's just real flippy, it's real sensitive. If you've never been able to use one of these devices before, you've been doing something wrong. That is that you haven't been spreading it enough and putting enough tension on it to make it unstable. If you're using the fork stick dowsing rod properly, it will be so sensitive that it will just want to go at any little slight movement. And that's what you do. Now, as we've said many other times, you can hold it down like this and use it, or maybe up like that. You can hold it out at arm's length, maybe like that, or even straight up. That's what I like to do, about like this. But if you don't have any success with this, any luck using it, just simply put it high like this, way high, and I'll bet you it'll work for you. You can use it that way, or like that, or even like that, and douse. And when you get in the right direction, it'll go down again. Now I've made one. I made one out of a piece of spline. This is used for caning chairs, and you can buy this at a hobby shop. Put it in some water and soak it a while, and you can bend it any different way you want. I like these real well, and this is the type that I like to carry around with me. You just put when it's wet, you just put a bead or tie a knot around a piece of string, and that's a real good dowsing rod. Same thing. There it goes, right over there. We know it's over in that direction. Now I have a couple other devices I'd like to show you. We call this device a straight wand. This is just a little dowel that I bought at a hobby shop that's kind of flexible. And I just put a little styrofoam ball on the end so you can see it a little better on the video. And this is a very sensitive dowsing device, and you can actually just pick a stick off a tree, which we're going to do pretty soon, and show you how to dowse with this. There's several different ways. You can hold it down low like this and just scan, and when you get in the direction where the thing you're seeking and visualizing is, it'll go up and down. Or you can hold it out like this, and when you get in the right direction, it will start to say yes. Now, you can also ask questions with this device. A yes answer would be a turning around like this. After you've found something, maybe you want to find depth or you want to find out something about it, you can pose your question as clearly as possible, and you might get a yes like this, like a confirmation. Or like I say, it may go around in a circle. And a no response might be no movement at all. Or you might even develop a clockwise circle would be yes, and a counterclockwise circle would be no. There are many dowsers who use this type of a device in the oil fields. It's a very popular device for dowsing for oil, and they can count off the depth of the oil deposits by this. After they found a location, they might say, how far down is it to the bottom of this oil? And you might say, for instance, you might get it wiggling a little bit. You might say, is the oil down at least 100 feet? And it might say, yeah. And you might say, is the oil down at least 200 feet? You might say, yes. And then you can continue on down. You might say, 300, 400, 500. Where's the bottom of this oil? 500, 600, 700, 1,000 feet, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. Okay, the bottom is down at 6,000. That's real simple and real easy. Sometimes people put a little bottle of oil on the end of their stick. That gives you a witness. They call that a witness. It just helps you visualize. Now, let's say we got a reaction at 6,000 feet. That's the bottom of the oil. Maybe it's really a little deeper. We could say, is it at least 6,010? Yes. 6,050? Yes. And so forth. And you get your number after a while when it stops working. A no might be like this. Once you get to a point with all these numbers and depths, then this thing starts going like this. That means it's all over. We got to the bottom and you got your answer. Now I just cut this off of one of these trees out here in the jungle. And this is real basic. I mean, you can just find these almost everywhere you go in the world. So this is the same way this would work. If I was looking for this treasure, I might go, if there's a treasure on this property, where is it? I'm scanning now. So. Oh, look at it. It wants to go off in that direction. And sometimes that thing will just whip up and down just as hard as you can go, just like saying, boy, you better get over there. Or you can just go in any direction, and when you're pointing in the right direction, it'll just kind of want to work like that. Okay, now I've got another dowsing device to show you. Now this 4 or 5 foot stick, straight stick, we call a Molesworth rod. There was a gentleman in Australia who liked to dowse with such a rod as this, and his name is Molesworth, and he kind of popularized the use of it. There are many dowsers in the United States who have developed the use of this rod. You can use this by holding it by your side like this and balancing it. Get it so it's rather balanced. There you go, something like that. Or you could use your rifle. If you're hunting out in the woods and you have a gun with you, a nice long gun, you can just hold it like that. If you want to dowse at the same time, you can just hold it. And the way you scan for that is you visualize what you're looking for, and you just turn, and when you get in the right direction, that thing wants to go down. It just wants to pull down to the ground all by itself there. It wants to go down. And it'll just balance all the rest of the way around. And then it'll just pull right down like that. and that's called a Molesworth rod. Now there is a possibility, if you want to use your rod like this, to even a stick like this, you can just dowse. I'd probably use both hands and scan around. And when you get in the right direction, you just kind of know it. There's just kind of a knowing in your mind. And it's just like it locks in. There's a channel there. When you come up to that, it's just like you don't want to go any farther. And that's your direction. So that's a pretty good device, and it's pretty cheap. Okay. One of the best dowsing devices is your own hands. And there are many ways to use your hands to dowse for things. I might suggest that you take your hands like this and move them back and forth. And if you're sensitive to it, you'll find that there's kind of an energy that builds up between your hands. You can almost feel it like threads developing between your palms. And that way you can rather sensitize yourself and sensitize your hands. I like to scan with the hands. I just quite often will hold two up like this and sometimes even close my eyes, but you just scan and you visualize what you're looking for, and you get a whole feeling right down through here. My whole chest tightens up, and it's just like a lie detector. It just kind of says there, you know, you tighten right up. So we might do it with two hands like this. Okay, right in there. You can just kind of know that right between your palms, that's where it is. Or you could use one hand. You could stretch one hand out and do the whole thing. I've conditioned my fingers to go down like that. What I did was to sensitize my fingers. I'd tap them on a table. And so I knew where my fingers were subconsciously. And then I told my subconscious that I wanted to learn how to dowse with my hands by having my fingers work like this. And it's really been a wonderful method. So if I was looking for a treasure or water, anything, I would search like this, and when I'd get in the right direction, my fingers would want to go down like that. And that's a real good method. Now there's one other method, and it's a very, very good method, and that is what I call the mind compass. Using no device whatsoever, but just your own intuition. You just, inside your mind, you pretend like there's a little dial in there, like it's on a compass, and your thoughts are just going around, all around you like this, all through the woods for hundreds of feet around you. And as your thoughts go around and around and around, you're thinking of this treasure out here. And when your thoughts finally come back to wherever it is, it'll just kind of hone in, just like a compass on a needle on a compass points to north. It's the same darn thing. And sometimes you get intuitive feelings, but this mind compass is a real good thing. You can dowse a property without even anybody know you're doing it, in fact. Yeah, you can be out there on some other purpose and be dowsing all the time. So there are just all kinds of ways to dowse, especially for treasure and water and all kinds of things. But if you'll try these, I think that you'll have a lot of fun, and you might even get rich finding some treasure. Another good instrument for dowsing in the field is the pendulum. It's really a very simple instrument, and it works very well. I have a little plastic ball on the end of a string here. Now, if you want the pendulum to move very easily and almost by itself, you lower that down through your fingers. You see I'm letting the string slip through my fingers, and there comes a point on that string where it moves very easily, almost all by itself, without my doing all that stuff. And that's what you want to do. There are several points along this string that will happen. Now, here's another pendulum that is real good for field work. This is just a little bottle. You can put in there whatever you're looking for. If you're looking for oil or water or a piece of treasure or whatever, you might just put something in here as a witness, and you can roll that up and down on a little cord. And the same thing goes for this as I just said for the other one. You can lower this and lower it and lower it until there's a certain point where that wants to move very easily. So the pendulum is a real good field dowsing instrument. You might like to try that if you're looking for treasure anywhere. One of the best little pendulums that you can find is the bead chain. It's just a piece of a pull chain from a light, and it makes a wonderful little dowsing pendulum. It doesn't even have to have a weight on the end. Here we have a map showing a stream and a highway and a little lake and a lot of empty land here. Now if we wanted to find a treasure on any of this area, or say the police wanted to find a weapon that had been discarded and they wanted it for evidence, or someone had drowned, we could find all those things with this little bead chain. We would hold it over the, for instance, we'd hold it over the bridge and have it move like this right across the map, and here we have our line going across, and we would triangulate from another place, and we find another line going across this way, so that what we are looking for would be right here. If there was something in this pond out here, in this lake, you could dowse with regular dowsing instruments, say from here, and get a triangulation across the lake. Or you could do it with your pendulum, just the same way that you would do it with trying to find water on a piece of property. So that's a very simple way to do it. And I think you'll find that you can discover a lot of missing things by using that method. We have a topographical map here showing the old Oregon Trail as it crosses through Montana. And there were a lot of treasures buried along by immigrants as they went along. Sometimes they'd bury their money in the ground, and then something would happen. They wouldn't be able to find it, or they died, or something happened. And one way you can dowse a trail is just simply follow it with your pencil, have your mind open to any kind of a treasure that might be buried, and let the pencil take you right to it. Now as I follow this little trail, I feel that there's something right here. Now if someone would go there with their metal detector and check that out, they'd probably find some kind of metallic substance, perhaps gold or something of that kind. And you can just go right along that trail, and if you're real quiet in your mind and you try your best to follow the people who were here at one time and where they camped and where they might have left artifacts, you'll find that that will work for you. Also, we have a reservoir on this map, and I just want to show how that you can find the best place to get fish if you want to fish. Hold your pencil over your map and ask for the best fishing location on this whole map. So I get a place right over here, and if somebody wants to go fishing, they'll find a lot of fish right here. Now there may be some others. Right along this area here is a lot of good fishing if anybody wants to go fishing. You can also use a pendulum on this to find fish or wild game or just about anything you want to find. For information about purchasing this tape titled Dowsing for Water and Treasure, please write to Bob Ater, Box 21, Monmouth, Illinois, 61462. If you're interested in having my professional services with map dowsing or on-site dowsing, please write to the same address. These are coins that came from a collection that was supposedly found on Jefferson Island in Louisiana quite a while back. Joseph Jefferson was an architect, an author, and an actor, and he played Rip Van Winkle in theaters all over the world. He built this house on Jefferson Island And in 1928, a work crew who was digging around some big trees found 3 brick triangular boxes with lead lids. The foreman gave the crew the day off, and the next day the foreman had disappeared with the 3 boxes. Now the history of Joseph Jefferson suggests that Jean Lafitte had visited this place during the life of Joseph Jefferson, and so it is suspected that this is part of one of the treasures of Jean Lafitte. The owner of the property is reported to have bought back some of the stolen coins, and these that you see before you are some of those that are displayed at Jefferson Island, and everyone thinks that they are part of the Jean Lafitte treasure.
Then you would come around. You had to take a little bitty boat to get to this island. It was very well protected.
So it's a real remote, yeah.
That's right. Because Delaware Canal was not there. Huey Long was the one who had Delaware Canal dug.
Was that to help transportation
Yes,
back
yes.
That's been as late as you?
Yeah. But they said originally it was like 7 spades wide. 7 spades per shovel wide.
That's all. I mean, it's, well, for a couple of boats now.
Yes.
Yeah, we got to take a boat tour this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, just keep on taking how many minutes you got. How does it silent?
Here we have Adrian Gaucher, South Louisiana, in some sort of jungle.
Some dumpy house.
Hunting Lafitte treasure.
This fella's picking up all my keys, man.
We must be in front of an abandoned camp. Just a minute, I'll pan over there and give you some idea.
We can't tell where nature stops and humans begin.
Right, we can't tell where nature stops and human begins. There he is, ladies and gentlemen, a fine specimen of humanity.
Out on the trail.
Hot on the trail.
Don't find it right away. Here we are out in the field, folks. John Pickett with his ever trusty bloodhound detector. On the move. Maybe go back and forth. Yeah, there you go. Stalking the infamous Lafitte treasure. Checking his dials. Setting the ground balance. Ever vigilant, ever on patrol. John Pickett and his trusty detector. Did he pick up something, folks?
Here it is! Here it is!